Hey, guess what? It's 2 minutes after 8 o'clock. We are here. We are with you guys. We are ready to rock and roll. And for 1 hour, we bring you all the information that you need to hear, need to find out what's happening. And you get it right here on 107.1 FM. Share the link, spread the word, and we will be right back with our program this evening.
She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cockacrow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cockacrow, dagabag, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Cockacrow, dagabag, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day a back down, me now a come home. Inaga, jackass yard for fetch the load. Cockle shy hand, bag over shoulder, running by his side, a Rexy and Rover. From the farm, them a come. Sun a go down but up the river. Some washing clothes, some folks are bathing at the water. Fisherman, they catch them a bring. From a canoe boat, man, them start offloading. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Lokonani. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Bangameri. Listen to this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. Them children glad when the weekend come. Out in the yard, them all gather round. Some a play catcher, some making house from straw. Two who come later, a grandma or grandpa. All a sit down just a wait. Moonlight so bright, it's just the right time to listen story or to say a little nursery rhyme. Grandpa voice a echo in the night as he tell you tale some picnic a there with fright. Oh Ligan, Mungeza, Massa Kurma Bura Nancy even Watamuma. Oh Ligan, Moongeza, Massa Kurma Bura Nancy even Watamuma. Yeah, man, that's the true story that tell the people about life in the country, life in the country.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Kellyan Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm,
All right, guess what? We're going to rock and roll for 1 hour. Let's start off by just welcoming all of you, whether you're listening to us on the ground via radio, wherever you are. Good evening to all, every single one of you. Even if we can't call your names, you know that we welcome you. You are special to all of us here, including the operator, Lemon, who is well dressed, out with three-quarter pants and a tie and a shirt. I don't know where he's heading, probably down at Biltmore Ballroom. Well, I don't know if Biltmore Ballroom is still in existence, but many of you old-timers from Brooklyn should know Biltmore Ballroom, Love People, Tilden Ballroom, and all these different things, Calypso Hut, and all sort of different things. Q Club in Queens, Q Club. And then if you are still in Queens, you go to Soca Paradise. And if you like your nice little soca and so forth, or Calypso City, you can tell I'm from the old school, right? All right. Good evening to all of you. We are going to rock and roll with serious business. And I do mean serious business because we want to be able to just not give you headaches every night on the show. We don't want to give you headache. We want to ensure that you walk away with something positive. And that's why we say keeping hope alive. We want to help you keep hope alive. And you've got to be able to keep hope alive because that's exactly what we are about, right? And we don't want to make a set of noise all day and then at the end of the day to have you walk away without having no sense of hope, without you, with you feeling as though, there is really no hope in Guyana, right? We don't want you to feel that way at all, right? Sorry about that. We don't minute of your time. Ben Shop here. We have, sorry about that. Our operator, and I hope Lemon is paying attention. I don't know why Lemon is excited or what for, but Lemon, we're giving him a final warning. Do not mess up. Share the link, guys, and we will begin with tonight's program. Good evening to every single one of you. I don't know, so many things we can talk about, so many things to discuss. But I am still, I've got myself back, but early in the day, we were basically giving you guys a rundown, a real rundown, not a brush down. We give you guys a real rundown on what has happened with nomination day. And let me just make this point very clear to you before we get to our guest, Dr. Richard Van West Charles. He is with us this evening. He is well dressed. He is waiting for you guys. I see that he has a booklet. He's running through his booklet. And I see like his left hand is actually trembling because he's not sure whether I'm going to ask tough or easy questions. But let me tell you guys this about Dr. Richard Van West Charles. I did say to him that I will ask you some tough questions. And he did say, that is all expected. It is in the game. When you're in politics, expect tough questions to be asked. And so he is prepared for the tough questions. And I will ask him some very tough questions because that is what we should be hearing from our candidates. What are they really about? What are their policies? What if they become leader of the People's National Congress reform? What are they going to do other than rhetoric? We don't want to hear rhetoric. At least I don't want to hear rhetoric. And I know rhetoric when I hear rhetoric. I know people who are basically talking for talk's sake. I've been around politicians practically all my life, and I know them. I know when they're talking just for lip service, and I know when they mean well. Now, don't run away and think that I'm throwing shades at people, because a lot of you like to say that. Ben Shap is throwing shades at somebody. Ben Shap is the king of throwing shades. I don't throw shades. We deal with serious business here. Ding-a-ling. Let's begin. Good evening to all of you. I'm sorry about that bell. Again, you guys might think it's a shade that I'm throwing. But this is actually a serious, very, very serious program. Laverne and all of you guys, good evening. One Anthony, good evening. I hope you guys are sharing the link. And again, I'm not throwing shades at anybody, but share the link. Share the link. Come on, guys, share the link. What is life with without a little bit of laughter and all these things? It's Friday, right? Let's get to this thing, because I know some of you missed it, and it's about this person. Yeah, I want you guys to see this person here, and I move away from the throwing of shades. It's about this person, Amna Ali. Now, she is the General Secretary of the People's National Congress Reform. Now, this is 2021 we are talking about, for crying out loud. 2021. You're telling me that as a host of a program, I make contact with this lady, Amna Ali, to simply let us know, let the people know, let you, a lot of supporters of the PNCR, to hear what is happening. Nobody's asking for Amna Ali to get into the nitty-gritty and the private affairs of party and all these things. When are some of these people going to learn? When are they going to understand that this is not 1901, or this is not 1921? And even back in 1921, I am almost certain people like Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow and all of these folks didn't behave in this manner. And so all I did was a simple phone call to ask her to just spend 1 minute or 2 minutes to inform you, not me, because I'm not a member of the PNCR. And frankly, I don't necessarily have to ask. It's practically, I would say, if I weren't a talk show host, it's none of my business. Simple as that. Let the PNCR do what they have to do to elect their leaders. And here's what Amna Ali had to say. Yes, Amna Ali, who is the General Secretary of the People's National Congress. Comrade, I hope you guys are listening. Share the link. Share the link, right? This is what Amna Ali had to say today, man. And, I'm not touchy. I'm not vexed, because Amna Ali cannot put me over a desk and put some wild cane on me or cuss me out and them sort of things. I don't encourage those things, right? I don't encourage it at all. But this is what Amna Ali said. And we all should be disappointed in what she said and her approach. Listen to her. Just for a minute on 107.1 FM to talk about how confident are you about today's nomination and the process?
I'm sorry, Mark. I will not make any comment on my party's business on air.
All right. I got you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I have never gotten a bump in my life yet. This is the first bump that I have gotten. I am not asking about party's business. I'm asking about her confidence about the process that could make the thousands of people who are watching us right now comfortable that this process is going to be smooth. This process is going to be democratic. But there it is. You got it. I got the biggest bump. Look, I need to drink some. You guys give me a quick second. Let me catch myself.
Yung cut your hair again, Mark.
People are laughing about that bump. Anil, go ahead. You were saying something. I just got
yung cut your hair again.
Dr. Hines, you were talking about the mock. All right. Welcome back to Straight Up, man. Welcome back to Straight Up. I noticed someone commented, and let me say, let me if Lemon can pull it up quickly, somebody's saying that I'm not hurt my feelings. No, man, my feelings are not hurt. I'm just disappointed that in 2021, this is the sort of arrogance that we're hearing, that it's party business. All I was asking her to let us know, let the listeners know how the process is going. Is it smooth? Is she comfortable? And that's all. All she had to say was, yes, Mac, things are smooth, going smoothly, and everything. And we want our supporters to know that they should have confidence and continue to have confidence in the process. Thank you so much, Mark, but I got to rush off to a meeting. Mr. or Dr. Van Charles, welcome to the program. Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, Mark. Good to be here.
Yeah, what's going on? What's your take on what the General Secretary, a simple question, she's saying is party matters?
This is the problem you were pointing to of people not understanding the values of the 21st century and the understanding the issues of the democratic process, understanding transparency and the degree of accountability. And they may not see and understand the question as being part of accountability, but it certainly is, because if she cannot say that she has confidence in the process and she's the General Secretary, then there is an issue. But we have to move on, because this is what this process is about. Us trying to ensure that we are moving to the 21st century with the values that will empower our members, empower our supporters and Guyanese as a whole.
All right, that's what it's about. And I'm sure you would have handled, were you the General Secretary or asked such a question as an executive member of the party, a simple question as how the process is going. Would you consider that to be interfering in party, in PNC matters, and you don't want to bring that
out? Obviously not, Mark. That's you need to have a handle on how the process is going across the country as the General Secretary, and so I would think that that's a question that the General Secretary should be able to answer.
And now let's touch on this. Thank you so much, Dr. Van West Charles. The 21st PNC biennial Congress and nomination day today. Tell us first, in your opinion, is this a nomination day with a difference that you have never seen before?
No, not really. Not really. This is the part of the process the party has embraced all along. It's not about the fanfare that you see, because most critical to the process is the involvement of the membership in the nomination. And in some instances, when Oscar Clark, I think, was there, he really sought to verify how the members were involved in the nomination process by looking at the minutes, trying to understand who did the nomination and who supported it, etc. Because this is not about the chairpersons of a group or the secretaries of a group making a decision, but it's about getting the voices and the intention of the membership with respect to the nominations. So that is very, very important. And at the same time, when we have the nominations, they are expected to submit a list of delegates based on the number of members, financial members in your group. The Constitution clearly stipulates that for every 10 financial members, you will have one delegate to the Congress. So, and then the membership will have to decide who that delegate will be. So it's one of the Constitution of the PNCR is very, very clear in terms of its democratic process. As I mentioned today, in across the globe, there are many countries that have clearly stipulated rules, their constitutions, etc. But you always find some level of deviation from the behavior. And that is where you have to have an oversight and monitoring of the process. Hence, the question you asked the General Secretary as a very pertinent question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Richard Van West Charles is with us. We know that the groups from all of the regions would have sent their delegates there to nominate individuals and so forth. Are you, I guess by now you should know how many groups nominated you. Is that how it works, that you would know what percentage of...
Well, I should know probably by tomorrow or so. You see, one of the things that we have normally, groups should receive their circulars at a certain time, and I think that should move forward to allow groups to understand what are the processes, what are the timelines, etc. So after today, for example, where the nominations have come in, and the nominations basically are for the principal officers, which are the leader, the chairman, 2 chairpersons, and the treasurer, and 15 elected members. So these are the positions that people are going to be nominated for. Now, the Secretariat now has to inform all of the persons identified for these positions whether they would like to contest. So they have to accept the nomination. And that process should be in another 2 days or so, where everyone will decide, well, I will accept or I will not accept. And then that list of candidates comes out and declared by the Accreditation Committee. In the meantime, the Accreditation Committee is actually looking at the lists that have been submitted to them, and by November 19th, we'll have a provisional list of delegates to the Congress. That goes back to the regions, and between 19th and the 30th, it's like a claims and objection period when the members in the regions, in the groups, will have an opportunity to vet those lists to be sure that, for example, no person who would have not served their probationary period can be a delegate. So if perchance in any one of the regions they've identified a person who has not completed their probationary period, then that person has to be, that you object to it, that person has to be removed. Also, you may find persons who may have died and their names are on the list and that type of thing. So it is that, those 10 days which permit the membership to go through the list and make their objections. And by the 30th of November, the final list of delegates would be known.
All right, thank you for letting us know about that claims and objections period as well, even within the Congress at the PNCR elections nomination process. Now, some folks were of the view that today was the day, nomination day. It is, you nominate a leader, and that's it. And they were looking out to see who won, right? They were looking out to see who won. And so that is why it is important that we explain. We have folks who can explain the nomination process. After all of this, and thanks to say for you to walk us through that, to say that by the 30th of this month, claims and objections and so forth, and once the list is fully sanitized, it simply means that on December 12th, that is the day that the delegates and
December
members,
11th. December 11th, Mark.
December 11th, thank you so much, Doc, that who on December 11th are allowed to vote?
The persons on the list of delegates, the final list of delegates. And those persons will have to present themselves with their ID cards or the party cards first as defined, the ID cards or a passport. The identification must be very, very clear. And it's a process whereby each candidate has an agent present to be able to vet and verify that this is so. So that's when the voting occurs. And as you know, normally we will all be gathered at Sophia and the voting will take place. Now, because of the COVID environment, this Congress is a one-day Congress, and it's a hybrid format where in the mornings everyone will hear the presentations of the leader, the chairman, the general secretary, and the treasurer. And in the afternoon, we will move to the electoral process. Now, that starts, and we are now voting in each region. So previously we were gathered in Sophia. Now we're going to be voting in each region, and each region has its own returning officer, etc. And the votes will be counted within the region, and the declarations within the region made. But those results have got to come into the center for final tallying, etc., and final declaration as to who would have won. Because the votes in one region will not indicate the position of any one candidate until everything is totaled, and then the chief returning officer makes his or her declaration as the case will be.
All right, thank you so much. Sorry. So when we look at this process, because I'm so glad that you're breaking it down for our listeners so that they have a better understanding as to what happens. I know I asked a few minutes ago about whether this is this nomination day this year is different from previous nomination days. I asked that because is this the first time that delegates will be voting in their respective regions?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
In the
The first time.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
how comfortable? Go ahead, make your point, sir. Go ahead.
What I want to say is that you can have one nomination, and you accept that nomination, and you are a candidate for any position that you want. So but you were asking another question, Mark.
Yeah. Before I get to that next question, so it's in order to be on that list, and I guess what you guys will, that's part of what you will be, your team and the other candidates, their teams will be scrutinizing to ensure that, let's say, if Mark Benshap comes up as a member of the party, and it shows that Benshap has only been a member of the party 6 months now, a paid member 6 months now, am I allowed to vote?
No. If you are new, no. You are allowed if you are a member of the party, established member, but you had a lapse in the payment of your dues. You are allowed to pay the amount owed and reinstate renew your membership. You are always a member, but you're not a financial member because you allowed your status to lapse. But what the central executive agreed that you can actually pay and have your membership renewed, because you wouldn't lose your membership because of that lapse.
You wouldn't lose it, but you're still allowed to vote and to be a delegate.
You're only allowed to vote after you would have complied with
paid all of your dues,
paying your dues up until 2021.
But a new member cannot do, unless they are 1 year in the party in terms of a paid member.
Yes, and the delegates can only come from the financial members in a group.
I got you. Thank you so much. We're going through this with a fine-tooth comb because we want our listeners to understand this democratic process, because that is what it is. And kudos to the PNCR. It's a democratic process. Now, having said that, how confident are you that this process will be as democratic as it is, and transparent, and that all of the votes will be counted. If you have X amount of votes, you know that nobody's going to be stealing your votes, or your team wouldn't be stealing anybody's votes, or there wouldn't be any complaint at all. How confident are you about this system?
In many ways, what we're doing now with the decentralized process is, to my mind, more advantageous, because in a region, the numbers are smaller, and all in the region will know the members within that region. So no form of substitution could occur. And I don't foresee any person voting on behalf of another person, because everyone in that area will be well known. And so that will avoid any shenanigans that can occur.
Fair enough. Now let's get back to the General Secretary. Not so long ago, I'm assuming that this article is correct. There hasn't been a correction or a point of statement that this is inaccurate. It says here, Van West Charles says Amna Ali a threat to free, fair, transparent PNCR Congress. Let's deal with that first. Are you still of this view?
I didn't get your question, Mark.
Didn't get the question. Are you hearing me now, though?
Yes, I
But the question is, this article says that Van West Charles says Amna Ali a threat to free, fair, transparent PNCR Congress. Have you guys resolved that, or you're still of this view?
Well, I don't. Let me say to you why I said it. As the General Secretary of the party, you would not expect the General Secretary to appear in the public domain in the launching of the campaign of a candidate, unless she appears in the launching of the campaign of all the candidates. Now, you would know that does not bode well, and especially that the General Secretary would be in charge of the membership. There were questions that would be raised. So I was drawing attention to that fact. I have not seen any continuation of the behavior, and therefore I think people have taken notice.
So you are satisfied?
Pardon me?
You are satisfied that your concerns have been addressed?
Uh-huh. And the other thing is, the other point made with Mr. Norton.
Yes, I was going to get to that. Let me just remind our people that you also, according to this report, Van West Charles blast Aubrey Norton's campaign for circulating false list. Explain what this is all about, sir. False list.
Well, let me say to you, a list was circulated with my name on it. I'm a candidate, and that list was circulated without consulting me to have permission for my name to be on the list. And I thought that that was an unethical approach, and it was circulated in the public domain, and therefore I called it out. I don't subscribe to a preparation of a list. I believe that we should permit the democratic process to function and allow the members to elect whoever they want for the positions that are available. Whoever is the leader then should have the capability to work with all ages, all colors, all ethnicities, all genders, etc., and build that team for the leadership of the party. When we set out to have slates, and sometimes false slates, we put people on the slates that have not even agreed to be on the slate. Then we send the wrong information to our members with respect to their decision-making process. But I do not subscribe to it because I think it is, I say, the genesis for the development of factions. Because once I indicate that this is a slit, then I am saying to everyone else, hey, you are not being considered in terms of whom I want to work with at certain levels. And so I don't subscribe to it.
All right, you don't subscribe to it. We got a question coming from one of our listeners, Al, Al, Aliyah, sorry, Waldron. Maybe the Waldrons from Manchester Village on the quarantine. She's asked, who are the people on Van West Charles team? Who are the people?
The people are those who are democratically elected at the Congress. So if Mark Benshoff is up for chairman and he is elected, that's the person I will have to take on my team. I can't say that I wanted Joe Solomon, but Benshoff is elected. Do I gonna give a hard time to Benshoff, or Benshoff is gonna give me a hard time? I have to have the capacity to build that team and work in the interest of the membership of the party. And that's the important thing.
You know, one of the things I like a clean campaign. We see a little mudslinging here and there, but I do like a clean campaign, and for the most part, I think it is clean. But were you able? I've noticed this, and let me just forewarn. Let me say to the listeners of this program that this photograph is not an indication of one of them endorsing the other, or Aubrey endorsing Harmon, or Harmon endorsing Aubrey. It's just a genuine, friendly handshake. This is what I call a friendly, real handshake. We don't see you in the photograph. Were you guys able to meet, shake hands, and promise a clean campaign in this process?
Well, I saw when I was there this morning, Aubrey did come over to me, and we butt hands and so forth, and I went over to his camp and I butt hands with his people and so forth. These are all comrades. They're all members of the party. Therefore, we may have different views, but we are not enemies. And that's the critical thing. I have asked that we ensure that we run a campaign that is ethical. It's a campaign of ideas. We see things differently, and not in all instances, certainly in some. But I think that is the important thing, that we are presenting positions, ideas, new, sometimes ideas that work, that were thrown out, that you think that you want to bring back, for the voters to really understand, and to be able to make decisions at the time of the voting process.
All right, good enough. Let's get back. Just give me, I'm changing positions here now. Position. Some questions now. Thank you for the process. Thank you for walking us through that. Thank you for letting us know a heck of a lot of things, and the people being well informed. Now, let's go. Let's get down to this now. How do you respond that to people who may say that you are embracing this sort of entitlement, that because the PNC is your father-in-law's party, so to speak, you played a role many years ago. You were a minister. You're the son-in-law. Of course, you're his son-in-law. All these sort of things, that you have a sense of entitlement to be leader of the party. How do you respond to that?
Well, let me say to you, Mark, I'm a financial member of the party, and that entitles me at the time of a Congress to present myself for any position. I can't deny the fact that I'm the son-in-law of Lyndon Forbes, Sampson Burnham. But I'm my own person. And if I were thinking that I'm entitled, when I came back after retirement, I started to, even before I came back, to look at the party and to see some of the areas that I think we can improve, etc. And notwithstanding that, I considered and gave Comrade Winston Murray my platform. We had an agreement, we met, and therefore I agreed. We met at OMG, Winston Murray, Jeffrey Thomas, and myself, and I agreed to work with Winston because I thought we would have had a wonderful chance of taking the government at that time. We left OMG, we went to the Pegasus, we had a press conference, and we agreed to work together, and we went across this country together. Now, I have decided to run because I feel I come to the table with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, which can address the problems that present to us at this point in time in the party. So that if my entitlement is because of my experience and knowledge, well, that is it. But other than that, the only other entitlement is that I'm a financial member of the party, and that entitlement gives me the opportunity to present myself at this point in time for the leadership of the party.
All right, well said. Well said. I noticed your father-in-law, your late father-in-law, is in the background there.
That's right.
I noticed. Do you think he probably, if he's looking down, he's saying that he's proud of you, or would he have been endorsing you, you think?
I have no doubt.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this here now. You said you're a long-standing member of the People's National Congress, now People's National Congress Reform. You walked away for a brief moment, away into the arms of another political party. Now, there are some listeners who might be saying, you know, what loyalty when Dr. Richard Van Was Charles walked away from the PNCR into the bosoms of another political party, the Alliance for Change. Were you still a member when you walked over into the AFC's camp? How do you explain that to the people?
I never resigned, nor was I asked to resign. But let me say to you, in politics, when people move, there are reasons why people move. When people left the PPP, when Vincent Tika, Lalbachan Al-Bahadur, Halim Majid, and a whole set of people walked, Ranjit Chandi Singh, from the PPP into the PNC, we considered that as people having a different perspective of what was going on in the PPP. When Hamilton Green decided to form GGG, we had different perspectives. Basil Williams, he supported Hami, etc., etc. In politics, these things happen. Llewellyn John formed his own party, came back because Llewellyn John had the PDM at that time. When John Carter joined with the PNC to strengthen the PNC, and by the way, John Carter is my godfather. So those are things that happen in politics. But what is interesting is that it is the said AFC that formed the coalition with APNU. So where did I go? And are my ideas different in terms of working to support and defend the interests of our people? No. So I think it's childish, puerile, to be holding on to this view of I walked away and the sojourn was a temporary sojourn, nor did I move, and while I was away, hit the hammer on the PNC. But it was a move that eventually brought us to a point which saw us in government. And I would say to you that at that time, when we were in 2015, I approached Comrade Granger and I said to him, the coalition is the best opportunity for us to move forward. And I met with both Moses Nagamutu and Kemraj Ramjatan in my home and asked them to consider that this is the best opportunity for us to move forward. And we did. So my perspective, and I consider myself a very mature politician, my perspective was correct. But we didn't manage properly. We didn't do things properly. And here we are.
All right. Thanks for your honesty. We'll move away from that. We'll get to another question. A lot of people, young people want to see a vibrant PNCR, a vibrant opposition, a vibrant leader, a fighter, someone who will stick it to the PPP and Barra Jagdev and all of them, someone who's talking the fighting talk, someone who's talking boots on the ground, we in back in down. So are you willing to be that fighter? Do you think you have that in you, that fighting spirit in you to stand up and confront? We heard Aubrey Norton and his supporters that he's going to fight. They're willing to confront. And his supporters are saying, Aubrey is the man. Aubrey is the man to confront the PPP, to fight Jagdev and the PPP. Let me calm down a little bit. Are you that person to fight and confront the PPP when necessary, to put boots on the ground and fight that sort of fight?
You have to be able to fight in different forms, on different platforms in order to win. You don't fight to lose. And you have to know when to have the boots on the ground and when not to have the boots on the ground, or else you lead your troops into death. So you got to approach this thing very sensibly. And you, in our business in the 21st century, you're fighting intellectually with evidence. You're fighting, you know when you have to protest, but you don't protest in a willy-nilly manner. Protest requires planning so that you have your impact and you don't announce what is their expected impact. So all those who believe that I am not going to fight, I have always fought for people in the lower socioeconomic groupings and for fairness and for justice. But not in every fight you must see blood, because blood sometimes is very scarce. And so one must be very careful when you're leading people into a fight that you know you may lose. But you have to plan very carefully whether you're going to go in a guerrilla form, a traditional form, or other means. Because, you know, our party is very clear. It says organize the forces and charge the hot enemy. It means you have to fight, but you have to fight based on organized forces, not disparate forces that would allow you to be cut off at your knees. So you got to be very careful, because this issue in politics is not about a big bad wolf. It's about how collectively we work to fight. When you work with the trade unions, when you work with other sectors, for the discrimination that exists, that is how you organize to fight to win. But if you go wild, you are going to lose, and you are going to lose the gains that you may have at this point in time.
All right, 53 minutes after 9 o'clock in beautiful Guyana. The time is obviously, it's different wherever you are, whichever other part of the world. Dr. Richard Van Westars, and we want to be able to bring the candidates to you. Just to let you know that early in the day, we did speak briefly with Mr. Aubrey Norton, and we finally found Mr. Harmon. He was in hiding. He came out. We found him. He didn't say exactly when he's going to come on this show. We want him to be here. We made contact with Amanza Walton this year. She was out and about, low, a very weak internet service. According to her, that is. I'm just saying all of this to say we've had Christopher Jones on as well. And we are giving everyone an opportunity right here on 107.1 FM. Guyana went through a crucial period. Blood running in the streets like water. People were being tortured. People being assassinated. People being locked up wrongfully, jailed for years, trumped up treason charges, all these different things. And I'm not speaking just of my treason charge. There were other folks, the Monroes and Walton and so forth. They were charged unjustly so. People were killed. People were terminated. There was economic genocide practiced then under the PPP. We're seeing signs of that again. People were sacked from their jobs. What if someone walks up to you right now and say, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, how come you were silent, or at least so it appeared, that you were silent during those critical times when the country needed all the help possible, but you weren't around? What would be your response?
I would say that I was around, because at least I was in the country every year during that period. I was working with the United Nations then, with WHO, and every year I had to come home. And I would always have a briefing. I would meet with Comrade Hoyt. I met with Comrade Corbin. I would meet with comrades that I know to get a full briefing. I even, at that time, I would stay by Jeffrey Thomas, who lived at Bachelor's Adventure, and many people would say, but how can you take the risk of going up on the East Coast so late at night? Because we used to go home pretty late at night. So I understood. I knew what was happening. But what I think is happening now is that this history that we've gone through over those years seemed to be sliding. And it is important for our young people to understand this period, what went on, and not to be confused with the revisionist history that is apparently about to take place. So it is imperative on the part of the PNCR to have the history well documented. And this is one of the things that I think is missing, because young people who want to do research cannot easily come to a place to find the facts. And for us as a party, our institutional memory and our history must be safeguarded. We don't want people writing our history who are going to revise the history, so that people in their analysis, not that you want this to be a burden on you, but it must be there to inform, educate. As my grandmother, I don't forget that history. I can forgive, but I don't forget. And therefore, we have to ensure that that period is well documented. I was going through the dossier just recently of the people who were killed and who were tortured and so forth. And I think there's still a number of unanswered questions by a number of people who participated in the process. Some members in the army, senior members of the army who participated in torture. And to my mind, they have not answered the questions. So those are things that, when we talk about healing in the country, we have to be truthful and not try to be revisionists as we go forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. Richard Van West Charles. Approaching 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock Guyana time. Here's what I want to ask you concerning this perception that the party is deeply divided. I think Mr. Norton alluded to that. Mr. Harmon alluded to that. But the listeners, they are seeing signs of that divided party. And they are concerned, Dr. Van West Charles, they are concerned, and rightly so, that with this perception of bad blood amongst the candidates, is that it would probably take a while for the healing process to come to some sort of healing, good, full-fledged healing. How would you approach, were you to be elected, the next leader of the People's National Congress Reform? How you will approach unifying the party, the PNCR?
Well, let me say to you, Mark, one of the most important things is, first and foremost, when I embrace democracy, it is empowerment of the membership. Members must not be afraid to express himself or herself, that you create an environment where people can be free to express themselves. And not because my opinions differ, I am in one camp or the other. We have to understand where knowledge sits and the value of knowledge in terms of our purpose of growth and development. Secondly, I think we have to move to the point where we have an agreement on the diagnosis of issues and problems. As a physician, one of the first things you have to do before you start to intervene is have an agreement on a diagnosis. If we agree on the diagnosis of the issues in the party, then we can have a good, sound discussion on what interventions are to be made. Now, we may differ on the interventions, but it means that we have to be objective and bring forward the evidence and the knowledge in terms of the development of the solutions for the problems that we agree to. I think once we can begin to take that approach and you move on programs, you get away from the subjective, you move on a programmatic approach to your problems and projects, and you are transparent in what you do, you are accountable for what you do, then we should not have a problem. The indicators of transparency, the indicators of accountability, and the programmatic area in terms of what is expected, then we can go forth, and it will reduce the problems that we have significantly. One of the first things I would have to do is to meet all my colleagues and understand, have a good discussion in terms of where our commonalities are and where our differences are. But we have to make the assumption, I would have to make the assumption that all of us have a common interest to see the party in its best position, to represent the interests of all Guyanese, to represent and define all issues, and to carefully find solutions to those issues, and to welcome ideas, not necessarily only from within, but from without. I think if we take that position, we can easily find a common pathway. I think the country requires this to happen for us. It requires the political fabric in the country to work in a way so that our solutions can be found in a sustainable manner.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr.
And
Richard.
let me say to you that
Sure.
going forward, that you would need, one of the critical issues that we have to face is the race ethnic issue.
Well, I was going to get to that. How will
Okay,
you
go ahead.
how
Go
will,
ahead, Mark.
how will you as leader approach that issue? Because the PNCR or any political party, they will need persons from outside their membership to win an elections, a national elections. They need that. What will be your approach in terms of getting crossover votes and independent voters and young voters and all of these things? What will be your approach to attract those
Let me
individuals?
say to you, Mark, in 1969, the founder leader indicated at the Congress that the PNC then and the PNCR now is not representative of any specific ethnic group. But I believe the issue that divides is the issue of power politics and economics. And to get to an equitable position, Guyana has to move to the state of collecting its data based on ethnicity, which can allow us to identify the inequities in the system and channel resources so that we are not seeing any one ethnic group in a most disadvantaged position. So we have to be clear on those things. Also, the Ethnic Relations Commission has to be revisited in terms of its structure and function. Now, you've got to be ready, but this is not a point discussion. You've got to understand the determinants of these ethnic cleavages, and you've got to understand some of the insecurities that exist. Now, I see someone is saying that I'm too decent for reigning.
And I'm glad that, sorry, Doctor, that's why I put it up there, because I want you to answer this question directly to the people. Those who are listening to us via the radio, sorry, Dr. Charles, Van West Charles, the question is basically from Tyrone Peters. Good evening to you, sir, wherever you are. It says, Dr. Charles is too decent for the reining in of the PPPC. What's your response?
Well, I would say to him, by his question, he wants an indecent person. You've got to be ethical, and you've got to stand for your values and stand up against all of the discriminatory practices of the PPP and hold them accountable. You have to do that. And that is where the party has to be organized politically to function at different levels, different fronts, parliamentary and otherwise. But without an organized party, you cannot do that. The political strategy, the strategic thinking that is required to hold them accountable will not be there because you are not organized to bring all the intellect and everything, experience to the table in terms of finding the solutions. Dealing with the PPP, you've got to be firm. I agree with you. But what we have to do is to ensure that we understand, we bring our history, our intellect, and bring people to the table who we can discuss and strategically think how we are going to confront them on all fronts. If we are not organized to do that, then you're going to lose the battle and you're going to go wild. But you have to be organized. And at the same time, you've got to be clear how you represent your people on different issues. All of the issues with the flooding and so forth, and people not getting grants when they're supposed to get grants, you have to stand up. But you have to have a party that informs your membership, informs the country, provides the evidence that this is what is happening, and how are you going to provide the leadership to stand up to them. That is what is required. So it's not a matter of being decent or indecent. It's a matter of how you are organized to do the job you're supposed to do.
A majority of our voting bloc happens to be, they are young people. Sadly, I'm not in that category. I don't think so, because you mentioned 1969 when Bornham gave a speech. I wasn't born yet, though, but I'm not young. But the majority of the voting bloc They're basically young people. How would you respond to them that maybe, and it's some concerns that maybe your age, oh, Dr. Richard Van Mes Charles, you're too old. We need a younger leader. He was around as a minister a couple decades ago. We need younger leader. Where is Dr. Richard Van Mes Charles going, man? Rest yourself and sit down in a corner. How would you respond to that?
Let me say to you that this is about not age, it's not gender, it's not class. It's about your mental agility and the understanding of the issues to find solutions. But I want to say that to young people have got to be at the table in terms of decision making. They have a perspective that must be taken on board. Some of us who are more experienced obviously bring that in terms of the decision making, but that cannot be the only input to decision making. Because when I was at GWI, I was the eldest around the table, and the other executive directors were young people. But you've got to have everyone at the table and have a debate. You must not be afraid to debate with me because I'm older than you. And because you are younger than me, I am going to diss you and say you don't know what you're talking about. That is nonsense. We have to have an inclusive approach. And let me say to you that even some of us who are not lettered, we have to listen to, because they come with a certain level of experience that is meaningful to the solution development for many problems at the community level, at the regional level, etc. So it will be a mistake for us to create a discriminatory position because of age, gender, class, etc., and not understanding that when we come to the point of finding solutions, is bringing our experience, our knowledge to the table, and understanding the determinants of the issues in front of us to find the best solution that would resolve the problems for the majority of people in our country.
You know, majority of the supporters of the PNCR, and even a lot of folks who are not members of the PNCR, are of the view that this PPP regime was installed, and therefore, by virtue of that, this regime is being described as an illegitimate regime, installed regime. What would be your description, and do you subscribe to that view that this PPP regime is installed and therefore illegitimate? What is your take?
Well, I see it at two levels. Politically, I say yes, because I know of what went on at the time of the elections. But I also say to you, having taken the position of going into the parliament, you have taken the badge of the opposition. Therefore, you got to function as a shadow government. I've said that over and over again. And so the issue of being in the parliament and denying yourself being at the table to negotiate on behalf of your supporters and the Guyanese people is a mistake. Allow the parties, the political parties, to deal with that aspect of the PPP. But you are in the parliament and you have a role to play. You have participated in passing the budget. And you should be there holding them to fire with respect of the programmatic issues in every sector. And the party needs to be organized to support you to do your work at the parliamentary level. That is my view. It doesn't take away from calling them installed or not and dealing with it. But we have to deal with those issues, having gone into the parliament. You've taken the badge of shadow government. It means that we have to perform at a higher level in terms of managing the resources of the country at the parliamentary level. So I draw this distinction in terms of how we use the word installed and when.
All right, I've noticed, and I really have to go though. I know you've had a long day. You also have a long day tomorrow. You're launching your your campaign tomorrow. Lots of excitement. What time is that going to be launched? Because we carried some of the candidates. I believe we carried Harmon's launch. What time will your campaign be launched, and will it be live? Can we have permission to carry it live?
Certainly, and I thank you for the offer, Mark. It starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the Egbert Benjamin's Hall, and it goes until 6. It's going to be a good evening, and we're going to have a revealing time for us in terms of what happens tomorrow.
All right, a revealing time indeed. People want a debate. People want a proper debate, a real debate of the candidates, to hear your views together, to tackle each other in an intellectual way, to see firsthand all of the candidates together debating each other on serious issues. Are you willing and ready any day, any time, any place for that debate?
Mark, I told you before, I'm ready like Freddie.
You are ready like Freddie. You are ready indeed. Finally, before we go, for people who might be undecided, for people who might be, dismiss Richard Van Mist, forget about him. What would you do, or what can you say in your closing remarks to convince people that you, Richard Van West Charles, is the man, the real man who ought to be elected to become the next leader of the People's National Congress reform? Sell yourself.
First, I want to say that the decision to be made at this juncture is a very critical and important decision for our party and for the country. It therefore means that the delegates, have got to think very carefully what is at stake in terms of reorganizing and giving the party and giving us the preparedness to be able to deal with the PPP, to represent the issues of the people, and move forward. When one looks at my experience, national and international, in which I have delivered at all times, and most recently you have seen my performance at GWI. I am a man that delivers. I have results. I'm results oriented. And I look for inclusiveness in terms of understanding very carefully what the issues are. I look for a verification of means in all ways. And cool temperament is very, very important when you are moving in, when you are in a storm. To be able to come out of that storm, it requires a captain who will lead you out of it in a more rational approach and ensure that we all will survive and uplift ourselves. Because what's in front of us, Mark, it's a lot of resources for a small country. We don't want to have a lot of resources and a lot of poverty. We don't want a lot of inequity. We don't want a lot of racial hatred. We cannot tolerate that. And therefore, I have walked the talk, and therefore I am saying, give me that chance, and you will see additional results to what I have delivered over the past 30 years of my working life. I thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Richard Van West Charles. The road to PNCR Congress, all of the candidates will have an opportunity right here on 107.1 FM. We even offer them free airtime, free, F-R-E-E, free airtime right here on Bench Up Radio as well. All of the candidates. And now, before we go, let me just say this to you, Dr. Richard.
Mark, may I just make one point?
Sure.
I just want to thank you. Sure. I think your program has been an excellent program. This is not the first time I've come on. But in terms of, and this is important in terms of building a democratic culture, information to the citizenry so that they are more informed to be able to make the right decisions at all times. And I want to thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope I hope that those who are coming out here on this platform, 107.1 FM, I hope that whoever it is that wins, whoever wins, that they will see the need and the importance in coming back as often as possible to talk to the people, because those are the people who you guys are coming out now and wanting to support you. When you guys get that support and you guys become the leader of the party, please do not disappear. We want to see you guys often. Do not disappear.
That's right.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. And good luck on your the launch of your campaign tomorrow.
You're most welcome, and I thank you for the offer to stream.
Yes, we will do so. Have a
Thank you.
Wonderful rest of the night. And give my regards to the daughter of Lyndon Fox Sampson Bornham, Roxanne.
Your favorite friend.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. And to all of you, gosh, it's Friday night, right? Yeah, it's Friday night. We want to have the debate. It's interesting. And this is where, we don't want a cuss down campaign and who this and who that and who this, who that, who just run out a little hole, a rat hole, that is, who just run out here, who just run out there, who run there, who go here, who people are tired of that. Or who there with who, or who there oversaw, or who collect money there, or who collect pay, or who paying candidates, who paying for votes, who paying this. Mark, you ain't hear about this. Mark, you ain't hear Harmon this saw. Mark, you ain't hear Norton this saw. Mark, where Richard Van Westcharles been? Where the one come from? Oh gosh, it's like a fish market. We don't want that. And now I'm not insulting you guys. I don't do that at all. Neither am I throwing shades. But what I'm saying is what makes the process interesting and beneficial for everyone, all of you, all of us, is when we sit down and properly and constructively analyze all of the candidates. Is she the right person? Not because of how she looks or how she talks or how she walks. It is because she has some policies and good plans for the party. If you look at Aubrey Norton, analyze him that way, constructively. If you look at Van Westcharles, analyze him that way, constructively. And Joe Harmon too. Analyze these candidates based on their policies. I know a lot of folks are emotional about an entire issue of the elections being snatched away from the PNCR and the coalition. It was snatched away. And these Looney Tunes were actually installed. So that is why this PPP regime is an installed regime. And so I understand all of the emotions and so forth and so on. But don't allow that to cloud your vision in terms of making the proper and right choice as to who ought to be the next leader of the PNCR. Because in the long run, it will matter. You don't want to make a decision and 1 year down the line, you're vexed, you're upset because there's a disappointment. And why is it a disappointment? Because you didn't want to listen to policies of the individual. Listen to the policies. Listen to what they stand for. What are their views on marijuana? What are their views on homosexuality or the LGBTQ community? What are their views on Rastas getting their hair cut? And all these different things in jail, mind you. What are their views on religious freedom? What are their views on constitutional reform? What are their views on dual citizenship and persons who can sit in parliament who are dual citizens? All of these things you want to know. What are their plans to develop the country were they to become president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana? All of those things you want to know. Remove emotions, and you'll see how easily the information that you're looking for will flow. What can the next leader do? Not in the present time, but 5 years, 10 years down the line, were they to become president for our kids, our grandkids, our grandchildren, all of these things. Remember, this is just not about fight. It's about a package of strategizing in a very intellectual and a politically smart and sound way. And that is how these vagabonds who are in office will be defeated. We need a debate. I know Aubrey Norton has said that he's not going to back away from a debate. Richard Van Westjaal said he's not going to back away from a debate. I wonder what Joseph Frederick Harmon has to say about a debate. I hope when we set a debate time and date that Mr. Harmon doesn't run and hide behind some cardboard box and peep. I hope not. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. We will stream that launch tomorrow for Dr. Richard Van Westjaal, the launching of his campaign tomorrow. All of you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the evening. God bless you all. Our operator, Lemon, is back on the job. Thanks to some of you who made it possible for him to be back on the job, because today he received his first full payment. Lemon, thank you so much. And thanks to all of you, every single one of you. Don't forget, on Sunday, you'll have to pick up a copy of the Village Voice. Go out and pick up a copy of the Village Voice. Spend a little 140 Guyana dollars. Buy the Village Voice. Support the Village Voice. Go out there. Support these things. Support these entities. And I hope people in the opposition, the coalition, these leaders and so forth will understand that what it takes to support entities such as this, 107.1 FM, and even the Village Voice, two entities on the ground reaching the people. There are other individuals who are on social media, who are, in my opinion, doing their own thing and a darn good job as well, because the PPP is losing this battle. They're losing it on social media. They cannot contain it any longer. And very soon, they cannot contain the information on the ground. God bless all of you. Like I've said, we will launch that. We will carry the Van Westjaal's campaign launch tomorrow. Same place, same time. But before you go, you guys got to hear what Amna Ali did to me today. Yeah, it's funny. It's just funny, man. I'm not losing sleep over that, but it's funny. Amna, you got to wake up. You got to wake up, Amna. Seriously.
I'm fine.
Good. I just want a minute of your time. Ben Sharp here. We have you just for a minute on 107.1 FM to talk about how confident are you about today's nomination and the process?
I'm sorry, Mark. I will not make any comment on my party's business on air.
All right. I got you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I have never gotten a bump in my life yet. This is the first bump that I have gotten. I am not asking about party's business. I'm asking about her confidence about the process that could make the thousands of people who are watching us right now comfortable. That this process is going to be smooth. This process is going to be democratic. But there it is. You got it. I got the biggest bump. Look, I need to drink some. You guys give me a quick second. Let me catch myself.
Yung
People are
kotse here
laughing.
again, Mark.
People are laughing
Yung-
about that bump. Anil, go ahead. You were saying something. I just got
Kasi
bumped.
yung kotse here again.
I will have to cut my hair again, definitely. That's a stump out bump. You know, that's a bare face bump. Amna Ali, you know, one of these days I'll have to bring her on this show. You know, I'll have to definitely bring her on the show indeed. But we just left you with that little bit of humor, man, because that's what it was. A joke, a big joke, Amna Ali, a big joke. All right, I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. Take this kiss from me. Stay safe, guys. All of you, stay safe. God bless you all. So long.